Welcome to a galaxy far, far away. Here at the Cantina Podcast, we provide top shelf service, including rumors, leaks, news, and reviews. Come in, order a Loman Ale, and remember, no droids allowed. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cantina. I was about to just talk over this like the intro was still playing. Welcome back to the Cantina here on the GenreVerse YouTube channel and GenreVerse Podcast Network, available wherever you get your podcasts from. I am Kyle, joined today by Cam Clark and Shockey. How's it going, guys?
Doing good.
Good to hear. If this is your first time with us, well, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button and be sure to check out other content here on the channel that you can see on screen right now if you're watching us on YouTube. We've got anime reactions, trailer reactions, Breaking Geek Radio, and Daily Cog. Cover everything you can imagine in geek and entertainment, pop culture news, and of course here the Cantina for Star Wars. If you like Star Wars stuff, guess what? We got some Star Wars merch, Cantina logos, shirts, and our Trilogy Wars math shirt, as we call it. You can get the OT being greater than the PT and greater than the ST. I mean, I'd just put one greater than sign, OT greater than all else. But hey, that's me. More stuff coming, as well as lots of other stuff from the GenreVerse. It's been a while since we've done the Cantina, guys. The last
Mando
one was some stuff
3.
after.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
well,
we had like
Cantina
two
Reviews.
news.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
sorry, but yeah.
Andor,
We had a couple of news ones, but you know, there's not been a hell of a lot to talk about because there's been no shows or movies since then, and there's been a few bits of news, but nothing, huge.
Not too much. Well, guys, here we are, Ahsoka Episodes 1 and 2 review. We'll do a quick spoiler-free kind of overview from the three of us, and then we'll get into the good and bad with some spoilers, talk about what we think might happen. We got to be careful because, hey, in this business, sometimes you hear things, and it is what it is. But I'm going to be selfish, and as the one guy here who has watched very limited Rebels, a handful of episodes, and a handful of episodes of Clone Wars. This was one of the shows I've been most worried about on a few things. One, am I going to be able to enjoy it without the wealth of knowledge and experiences that come from Rebels and Clone Wars? I've got some fears about the world between worlds and stuff like that. I'm not the world's biggest prequel guy. As a matter of fact, I'll never watch the prequels again unless I am seriously compensated monetarily. That being said, this was pretty damn good. It starts out real well. I'm not a big fan of the way they did the crawl, but hey, I haven't liked a crawl since the original trilogy, so a lot of the crawls in Star Wars ever since the OT have been various levels. But I love the intro stuff with Baylin or Baylor and the female. Thank you. And the female, I can't remember her name. There it is.
It's easy to remember because it's a bone in your leg.
Yeah. Yep. So I like both of those characters, and that introduction was pretty tight. The Ahsoka intro was fine. They did clean up some of the CGI there on her planet, but not all of it. I still saw a thing that does not look blended in at all. Shame on you guys. Everything was pretty good. They give you a good pacing relatively. There's a few things we might get into later on. Not a lot of complaints. I think they are able to kind of walk us into what we need to know if you don't know these characters in depth, what you need to know to start this series. Of course, there's going to be things that you guys are going to get that I won't necessarily get, but as of right now, I don't feel left out, which is a really good thing, right? I mean, that's a good thing. So yeah, I actually enjoyed the episode relatively, both episodes relatively well. I think it was a good start, and yeah. Shockey, what did you think, man? You're the actual prequel fan here between Cam and I, but what did you think?
Ew, right? Yeah. How dare I like the prequels? No, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed both episodes. I really felt like episode 1 was very, the tone of it was very similar to going all the way back to the first episode of The Mandalorian. You had a little bit of a Western style to it, you know. The crawl, I'm glad that's back, you know, even though it was different. It was a vertical versus the, you know, going away. The characters of Balin, Shin, Morgan Elsbeth, I thought added value. They weren't just throwaway characters. You had a couple of Easter eggs thrown in there with Home One, going, you know, shout out to, you know, the Rogue One story, you know, and then let's see, there was Governor Addis, you know, from the Rebels TV show that was brought back.
Wait, was Home One in Home One wasn't in
technically
in Rogue One,
that was
it?
Admiral was it Admiral Addis or Radish? Radish, yeah.
Was he on Home One at the time?
I believe.
'Cause I thought that thing got destroyed.
Well, couldn't be.
Didn't the Home One was the Home One, not the one for
was the one at Return of the
Jedi.
Yeah,
Akbar's
it's Akbar's flagship.
The one that Radis was on, I think, did get destroyed. Did it not? Because they had.
Regardless, we got some Home One, of course.
Yeah, you got a little call.
A New Republic capital ship.
Yeah, we go. We got to see the planet Corellia, you know, and that, you know, kind of how it was a transition from the Empire. We got a little bit of HK droids, so it was a shout out to Knights of the Old Republic there, because a good old HK-47, one of the main characters of that video game, so is, you know, assassin droid there. So, you know, it had a lot to it. So if you weren't a fan of Rebels, there was still enough in there to get you excited, just being a general Star Wars fan, I thought. It did feel like, you know, shout out to the guys that KRT, Corey and Noah, you know, hope there's a reunion show sometime soon with those two. But, you know, they called it way back that there was a Rebels sequel series on the way, and we kind of, you know, didn't really, you know, follow through with that rumor, but we kind of knew that there was going to be this Ahsoka show, or that, you know, it was kind of a play off of Rebels. And so they're, you know, they also, you know, pivoted, and they, you know, got information saying that this was going to be kind of this Filoni's story for Rebels. So, you know, interesting to see the Sabine Ahsoka storyline. That one's a little weird for me on how that plays out. That Ahsoka now, after what last time we saw her, you know, she was basically on her own when she left Ezra to go find him again. But now we see that Ahsoka was training Sabine to be a Jedi, even though she left the Jedi Order. So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole story plays out, how Sabine kind of, you know, is a loner rebel again, all that stuff. Overall, for 2 episodes, we got a lot. It wasn't slow. It wasn't just like kind of filler teaser episodes or anything like that. I thought every minute was used wisely. For the 45 minutes of the first episode, I think it was like 41 minutes,
something.
Some of that in the second episode. So good use of timing, good dialogue, not, you know, a wasted minute on there. Cam,
how are you feeling there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's too much more I can add that you guys haven't really already covered. There is a lot in there for, you know, people that have watched Rebels and Clone Wars, and sometimes I see things and go, I know that means something, but I've forgotten what it is now because I'm getting old. But for me, I think I was more looking at it from the point of view of how could you come into it, you know, for your point of view, I guess, Kyle, and coming into it without that's the kind of lens I was going in looking for it. And I think they did a good job of that. And I think there was some criticisms from some critics that the pacing in the first episode was a bit slow. I disagree with that, because I think it may have been slightly slow for some Rebels fans who, you know, just wanted to get into it. We don't need to know this because we know all this from Rebels, let's move on kind of thing. But I think it was really needed to just establish who these people were as characters and how their dynamic was that fit together. And I think they established that really well. And although we'll talk about it more in the spoiler section, I really like that we're getting to spend some time with the antagonists in this show as well, and not just seeing things really from the protagonist point of view, where these people just come in at the action scenes and disappear again. We're kind of getting to see the villainous side, and that actually is always interesting to me. And it's a kind of story device that I always enjoy in a show. So that's a big plus point for me as well.
Good.
Want to give you grades before we get
I was going to say, since they released these 2 episodes together, and they do feel like one really long episode, they lead right into each other fairly well. Just grade this 2-episode premiere. Cam, you did a write-up which people can find at lrmonline.com. What would you grade this premiere?
Okay, so I gave episode 1 A-, and then episode 2 an A. So I think if I was to incorporate them together as one, I would just go with flat A. Now, I was quite impressed.
Shockey?
Yeah, I'd probably be around the same. Overall, A. I enjoyed the first episode more than the second episode. So yeah, A for the first episode, A- for the second episode.
Okay, I'm going to be
the opposite of me.
Yeah, but I mean they were close. I mean, it's just.
Yeah. I know. Kel's right that it's almost a crazy thing to get them separately. I think
it's all good. I'm going to go different and say it's a C. No, I'm joking. It's an A minus. I got a few things to pick on in a little bit, but A minus from me. So getting into the spoilers, and we're not going to recap the whole story for you guys, but
no, we're just not going to watch what we say.
Yeah, we're just not going to watch what we say. We see a lot of like I said, setup, which I have appreciated. I like seeing the stuff with the villains. I like a lot of the touch-up stuff they did with Ahsoka and Sabine and Hera. I don't know these characters, but that's fine because I was an EU fan, and I would pick up a book and you would be introduced to a whole bunch of new characters. And like we said earlier, I think they're doing an okay job.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Do you like Hera? Do you like Sabine so far?
I don't want to get into the negatives. Overall, yeah, they're all fine. Some are better than others. I think the show looks pretty good. There are some moments, like I said, and I've got an eye for the CGI stuff, and I pick on everything, guys. I don't just pick on stuff that I'm not a fan of. That's for the audience. Cam and Shockey are very well aware of how much I pick on things. But yeah, it's a really good looking show, and I actually like the majority of the music, the background music, the music that's for the audience, not necessarily in-world music. But I'm digging a lot of the score for it.
What did you think of the end? Did you pay attention to the end credits at all with their
score?
The
whole I recognize some stuff. I don't know what it was, but there was like something tickling the back of my mind.
It's Ahsoka's theme that they play at the end for the end credits, but it's like a violin version. But I was wondering if you guys.
It looks like Game of Thrones.
That's exactly what I thought. So. The way it was traveling and everything. I was like, this is
inventive.
I was like, this is Game of Thrones intro, but they used it as the end credits because it was the same concept of going from instead of going from country to country or kingdom to kingdom, they went from planet to planet. I was like, this
and
is
because it's such a different environment, it's not the same. It's like we pay tribute to it by doing something completely different. It is its own unique kind of thing. There's cool.
a few things going on right now that borrowed the Game of Thrones bit, including Final Fantasy 16. And there's another one. I think it might have been an anime or something Christine and I were watching, but there's been like 3 or 4 intros in this year alone, where people were borrowing from the Game of Thrones bit. I like a lot of the lightsaber stuff. Like I'm relatively happy. That being said, of course, I'm still scared shitless that this will screw the pooch in the end. But I don't really know what else to say on the positives. Cam, I went to Shockey last time. What about you? What's on your positives list?
I mean, I guess just the main positives for me as someone who, you know, I wasn't a mega Rebels fan, but I was an enjoyer of Rebels from time to time, and certainly Clone Wars. And I just think it took me a couple of episodes with Hera, but you know, I think with Sabine, I was there right away. I just think they got really good actors to portray these characters, and they felt not like this is something new. It felt like a continuation, like this was the live action version of those guys. And although we haven't seen much Ezra, it kind of felt like Ezra from the hologram. But, you know, Sabine just kind of stuck out straight away as just being almost straight off the cartoon. With Hera, it took me until kind of really episode 2.
Yep.
Where I didn't like.
She was definitely the stiffest character.
Yeah, I didn't get the motherly side of her until then, but that's because the story didn't allow those moments to come out. But actually, when you put her in the environment of being with Sabine and Ahsoka and see that almost manipulative but motherly kind of care that she does, and that's the Hera character that you know from Rebels, if you like, you know, and it kind of really just, she warmed up to me a lot at that point. So and you know, and I thought Chop was absolutely brilliant because I was always like, you know, to me, as I said in my review, like the two best droids in the Star Wars universe are R2-D2 and Chopper. I don't know which one's better, the plucky hero or the mass murdering wrecking ball that is Chopper, you know, or Chopper the war criminal as they call him. But you know, I just think he always worked really well in animation, and I was like, well, this worked in live action, you know, because it's almost like you can hear what he's saying by his beats.
The vocalizations,
it's a little bit different. And his actions, you know, like when he does that. But that is the way he was in Rebels. He was just a bit of a live wire. He had personality. And they really nailed that well, that kind of dynamic between Hera and Chopper when they were flying after the spaceship. I just thought that was a really good action sequence, and it kind of felt like just a live action version of something that you would have just saw in Rebels.
The whole basket of stuff was very cartoony, and I mean, it is based on stuff that already happened in cartoon world, I'm guessing, or similar. So that was one thing I would have put in the negatives, but it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just like Star Wars.
You gotta have a little
better than
relief.
that.
Yeah.
I know, but I don't. StarArs had lots of comedic moments. It doesn't.
Yeah, but and the droids were sometimes very much the comedic moments. I mean,
love them.
Right. Stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
like I said,
Chopper's kind of both of them in one because he's a bit wackier than R2.
Yeah, it's just the actual fact of having a cubby right there. It's like, I don't think that's how droids would necessarily do the repairs and stuff, but it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. What about you, Shockey? Your positives here.
The comedic relief was good, you know, because I think the past couple Star Wars series has been just a little too serious. Like, we needed a little, so, you know, on top of Chopper,
Mando was freaking ridiculously goofy. They set a vast Shockey in Star Wars wearing straight up Pirates of the Caribbean
guess you're maybe
garb.
more referring to Andor than Mando, I guess.
Like the Mando, I didn't consider, like, they were aiming to be comedic. Maybe the Jack Black, you know, in episode or whatever, that was really it. But it was more cheesy, you know, type deal with the Pirates of the Caribbean. We're like, you know, Chopper, and then what was the droid Hugh Yang. You know, they actually like their dialogue was to make you at least kind of chuckle a little bit, you know. So I think that was a good positive to it, because, you know, while there is so much depth and seriousness to Star Wars, another positive, like going back to the original trilogy, the relationship between R2-D2 and C-3PO, and even Chewbacca and Han Solo, it was a breath of fresh air there. Going straight into the action, like we got the Ahsoka versus the assassin droids right away on the which is a Dathomir planet. You know, there wasn't a lot of just build up. It went straight into it. We know the story now. It's not as 3 to 4 episodes of trying to figure out what's going on. We know that, you know, there's one group that's trying to find Thrawn, and then you have another group that's trying, you know, Ahsoka with Sabine trying to find Thrawn with the hopes of trying to find Ezra as well. And we're going right into it. So that to me is
it's not rocket
positive.
science.
Right. Yeah, it's not. And it didn't, that was my one fear, because with Filoni being in charge of this and writing, if you look back at, you know, not necessarily Clone Wars, but Rebels, and some of Clone Wars too, there was a lot of filler episodes and a lot of like, we're going to take 3 episodes to explain the story. Even Mando, like, I feel like kind of really slowed down in the pace of it, you know, in some parts where we could have just, you know, solved all this stuff in one episode or so. So I'm appreciative of the comedic relief, appreciative of the pacing of the first 2 episodes. We're right into it, not holding anything back. I think Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka is amazing. I still hold a soft spot for Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka, because that was, you know, the first person to take on the role of Ahsoka, but still she's doing it very well and not trying to change up the character too much, and keep it faithful to the cartoon or animated version of Ahsoka. So, you know, those are just a few of the positives. I could go on and on. Here's a good positive too that I think you guys might agree on. No Anakin Skywalker. I was a little bit
early on,
a little hesitant. You know, when the news broke out that Anakin, you know, or that Hayden Christensen was coming back as Anakin Skywalker, and then with the last kind of promos, it's been about Anakin. You know, and so I was worried. I was like, shoot, if this is gonna be the Anakin Skywalker show just masked over with, you know, Ahsoka, I was like, nah, that's not.
What were you thinking, like loads of flashbacks or something, or just
either flashbacks
or
or some sort of like, we keep going into like Ahsoka's mind and seeing, you know, like talk, like Anakin talking to her, you know. So I'm kind of happy that this is we'll see Anakin at some point, but it wasn't right away, and hopefully it's not.
We'll come back to that because I got some theories on some stuff there. So after we get done with some of my nitpicking, I'm not sure if you guys will have anything negative to say, but I want to come back to the theory thing for sure. On the negative side, I've got besides there being, again, and I know Cam will disagree with this, I do think there are some shots that they could have cut, edited down, shortened, and it's not so much that it's any one particular shot, it's that each time you come to a new person, and sometimes twice for the same character, there's a real slow, steady thing, and it's grating because it's every time. So here's except for that intro kickoff, that moves pretty good, but you get Ahsoka. It's real slow, speeds up, and then we get into the next part, and it slows down again.
That's a Filoni
and then
style.
Speeds up again, and then the next person slows down again and speeds back up, and that gets frustrating when you think about even the original one. You get the high action thing up front. Your first time meeting the big guy himself, Luke Skywalker. It's a real quick moment with a snot-nosed kid being snippy with his uncle. You know what I'm saying? You don't get that slow down, peaceful moment with him until a little bit later. So I got that. So I've actually got 3 things. I kind of lied when I said 2 because I added that one. Anyways, just little cuts here and there, or maybe switching it up to where, hey, this person will get their cinematic Cam moment later, because we just had a cinematic moment. Number 2, music. I understand they're trying to show Sabine listening to rebellious type music. I do not like stuff that reminds me of Earth in Star Wars. But Kyle, all the orchestral instruments, I got that. But there's a difference between that and something straight up rock and roll where there's only one thing that can make that noise. You know what I'm saying? And it's very earthly. I know what they were doing. I personally
what would you suggest
don't like it.
Instead, though, that would be my.
I don't need. outside of the things like the cantina where there's like an atmospheric moment, if you will, I don't need to hear the Star Wars in-universe music. I don't need to hear what they're listening to. It's not necessary, especially if it's going to be very Earth-like. When you look at the cantina scene, I get it. It's kind of goofy and stuff like that. Hold on. Sorry. Wrong button. It's a little bit goofy and stuff, but they did go out of their way to make it sound a little exotic, a little bit different than just a straight up, what you could imagine, or what Earth stuff was. It sounded like it fit, and it's just there quickly, and then it's into the background. I don't need anything other than that. But when you straight up put something super synth wavy like they did in episodes of Andor, when you bring in just straight rock drums like they did in Andor, and then when you do this punk rock stuff here with Ahsoka, it takes me out of it. And it's just one of those things. The more Earth-like something is, the less I want it in Star Wars, because for the love of God, it's supposed to be escapism. I fracking hate this rock. I don't want to be here any longer than I need to be, and I want to spend some time in a galaxy far, far, far away. And then number 3, the other thing, also related to Sabine. How old is she supposed to be in this? Because she was, a teenager in Rebels? Or was she already an adult in Rebels? Because this is like 10 years?
Teenager. Yeah.
Okay,
teenager.
so she should easily be mid-20s ish, maybe.
Yeah, I would say early.
Okay,
early to
why is she acting
maybe.
like a 12-year-old with that droid, man? Because even Christine was like, "My God, she's acting like a teenager." It did throw me off. I was like,
young.
Yeah, she was acting very, 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 very child, and not just then, but that's when Christine had made the comment.
She's a bit of a loner and a bit of a rebel.
I know, but you've had your it wasn't like grown adult. I know what I'm doing type thing. It was very teenagerish. So I felt that was just kind of odd, because in my mind I had her pegged for being mid-20s, and she was kind of behaving like 14, but I guess that's because that's what she was in Rebels, and they're just kind of keeping it with the character. I don't know specifically, but it was noticeable.
We wouldn't have seen that. They would have to start her with a different character and then explain where that character development's come from. Because,
I guess.
The last.
It's just everyone else seems real adult and not her. So. But those are my only 3 real gripes.
Definitely less mature than the other 2. When we're talking about, she's definitely quite a bit younger than both Ahsoka and Hera, who were both adults in Rebels. So,
War's supposed to make you grow up. Made me grow up.
But it did in a way. But she was living in a ship with people, and she was running missions for the rebellion. As you saw at the start, she's awarded for sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Commemorated for helping liberate Lothal and all that sort of stuff. So she's one of the early rebellion people, and she's also Mandalorian. Which kind of. In the Star Wars universe, they've always got a bit of attitude. Some kind of way, and I think it's just a bit of that. she's not really from Lothal, she's a Mando, so it's just that's her kind of home.
They got living in the tower. She's in farmland. That's just
what she could live in a nice place in the city where everybody is, but she's not. She's living it in the middle of nowhere because she's kind of a bit of a loner, and she's an artist as well. And you know what they're like, artists are a bit, and she's a bit artsy, so.
So those were my negatives. Cam, I know you disagree on the shots and cinematic aspect, but either if you want to come back on me on any of those or give any of your own negatives, what you got?
I mean, I guess I just come back with it. My opinion is that I just think that sometimes Filoni's style looks very cinematic. It feels a lot like the movies. I think what you're forgetting about the movies, yeah, we sometimes had quick introductions to people, but the Lucas was also a fan of long, lingering shots, especially when you're wiping into something. And especially when you get the chance to show off the skybox, which I think has always been a part of Star Wars, is showing that otherworldly thing that you're not used to seeing and kind of lingering on it for a moment. So although there's characters coming in, sometimes it's about framing the environment that they're in as well. So we very rarely ever agree on this. Occasionally I've said to you, I think that was a bit, that could be cut. I agree with you. I think Mando season 3, I agreed with you a little bit because it felt like too much, but normally I disagree, and once again that's the case here.
Shockey, you said you had a few things that you
my kind of, I don't know, maybe we just got to figure out the end of the story here, but kind of to your point of Sabine, right? So if you watch Rebels, Sabine's character grows into a very mature person. At the very beginning of Rebels, she's, kind of like Ezra, a little bit bratty, a little bit lonerish, doing her own thing, but then to the end of Rebels, she's the one who got the Darksaber, trained with Kanan and learned how to use it, takes over as the leader of Mandalore for a short time, gives the Darksaber to Bo-Katan to take over because she realizes that she's not mature enough or not ready to lead the Mandalorians. So yeah, I'm with you to see that character growth for what we saw in Rebels, to go right back to this weird setup with her and Ahsoka, because if you go back to the show Rebels, Ahsoka and Sabine really didn't interact with each other too much, besides going on the missions together. Ahsoka's main interactions was with Ezra and Kanan, and so for this whole we don't like each other or we're frustrated with each other, I don't know, maybe it's just something we got to get in through flashbacks or a little bit more story, because to me it seems like we've taken a step back almost with Sabine's character, a little bit with Ahsoka, because I felt like especially in the finale of Rebels, you could see Ahsoka talking to Ezra in the world between worlds, not allowing Ezra to save Kanan and kind of saying, you got to be at peace with the decisions and how things play out in life. And, she's so mature, and this person now it's not, I don't know what you want to call it, cat fighting or girl fighting with another person. And it's I mean, this is Ahsoka Tano. This is the one who was able to lead the Jedi Order and see the hypocrisy and everything about it. And so for this little bit of it, that's my only, maybe once the whole show plays out, we get a better understanding of it. But it seems to me like that's where my only gripe is. I feel like, to your point, Kyle, seeing, Sabine interact with Hugh Yang and, being a little bratty about it and stuff like that, to me was like, yeah, that's not Sabine that we saw at the end of Rebels, type deal.
Sabine was always like that with droids, though, and things like that. And Hu Yang was always that kind of character that would wind people up a little bit as well.
Maybe
David Tennant won awards for playing Hu Yang already,
really?
And
okay,
I was going to say he's great. Voice work on it.
I like David Tennant doing voice work. He did another.
I love Hu Yang.
Listen, I said in my review, David Tennant could do anything. I don't know why Hollywood don't use him as much. Anytime you see him in anything, he knocks it out of the park.
He was the Fugitoid voice for the 2012 Ninja Turtles cartoon when they brought the Fugitoid in. He did the voice work. It was amazing, of course. And dude, he is freaking Scrooge McDuck. The DuckTales reboot is still the best reboot, remake, whatever you want to call. Hands
That's the one
down, bar none.
An accent on.
And I know, dude, but he is so good as Scrooge McDuck. I love it. Anyways, yeah. I guess, like I said, and it's not just then. It's like Cam said, the stuff, or you said, Shockey, as well, stuff between her and Ahsoka just came off very, very teen-like, and that's why I was kind of like, I would have thought by now she would have been
to your point,
more mature.
Don't take the map, Ahsoka lets her look at the map.
Yeah, I was like, why did you leave her alone?
And then she just takes off. I'm like, that's a 12-year-old move there.
Exactly.
I could see that, and I was like, why do that?
I think it's like, see, when we look back at Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we were all saying, why have they got, Obi-Wan, that he's shot himself off from the Force and all that? Why start there? Because you need some way to grow on a TV show. You need some character development.
Yeah, you do. I get that.
And I think that's, I kind of see your point, that a lot of what happened has been implied off screen, but I guess they're trying to build this relationship between them, with knowing that we have got this gap of years where we don't know what happened, which they're not going to go back and just tell us all that. So that they're kind of resetting her in some ways because of whatever's happened between her and Ahsoka in the past, So it's almost like this being around Ahsoka again's kind of pushing her back into that rebellious phase, and pulling Ahsoka slightly back from Zen Ahsoka, that she was kind of starting to see her, and certainly slightly different from the Ahsoka we've seen so far in Book of Boba Fett and Mando. But I think that's the idea, is to allow them to grow as a master and apprentice going forward and develop their relationship a little bit.
Maybe. Let's get into some theories real quick. We hear about the species from outside the galaxy. This outside galaxy has a name, a legendary name, if you will.
I can't remember, but they called it Peridia or something like that.
Something like that.
Legend of
I didn't recognize the name, but of course, as soon as you say extra galactic, the first thing that pops into mind is the Vong, and I hope to God they don't bring them in.
Well,
I really don't.
They are in the canon, but they're not called the Vong anymore, are they? They're called the Grisk.
Yep.
Really? Like they are biolog. They use like snake swords and have the crab armor,
because they've only appeared so far in like the Thrawn books, haven't they? Am I right? They've never appeared, maybe some comics, I don't know, but they've never appeared in any of the cartoons,
just in the books,
or live action. Certainly
so,
not.
But have they been confirmed as extra galactic?
Yes, yes, they're extra galactic. I think are they extra galactic? I say that now, but I know that Thrawn, that's the main thing Thrawn is against in like his books that Timothy Zahn redid, and it's him that's done it, so I guess for him it's a reinvention maybe of the same thing. But a lot of fans don't think they're going to go in that direction, though.
I hope not. I hope not. But the thing,
it might not be the same place.
The thing, because then you got to worry: are they traveling on world ships? Is there a hyperspace capable sentient world? Like all of that, because at one point there was a story in the EU prequel era books where Anakin went to Zonoma Sakat, or however you pronounce it, the Vong homeworld, and had a ship, or the chunk of it that came to the Star Wars galaxy. But I don't know what to make of it, but I'm guessing the Force itself is probably extra galactic now, and that this will relate into that somehow, some way. When it comes to Thrawn, I had a theory about something. What were you talking about, Shockey, when I was like, hey, we'll get to theories a little bit later? What was it?
Anakin.
Oh, Anakin. So what if this was my theory? What if, and I'm not a fan of this at all, because I think this ruined Return of the Jedi, in my opinion. But what if Anakin is going to be not just world between worlds type stuff, but what if he's actually going to be Force Ghost, like currently post Jedi Force Ghost? I hate that idea, because in my opinion, seeing young Anakin at the end of Jedi meant that Vader wasn't in my mind meant that Vader wasn't redeemed, because the old man is what he should have died as, because it's saying, hey, he came back from the dark as the old man, died, redeemed, versus, it was Anakin that died, and that was just Vader that died, and that's why Anakin came back, like young Anakin came back. I don't like that, and that's my theory, is that maybe maybe we're going to get Force Ghost Hayden, and I hate that idea. What do you think, Shockey? You're pretty against that.
No, yeah, I don't think so. I hope not. But I know it's more world between worlds, where it's more cinematic scenes, kind of like what we got with the Kenobi show,
right?
Where it was not like the flashback to training stuff, but it's it's kind of a Ahsoka, going through
and de-aging.
Yeah,
going to do that.
And not necessarily, it's not time traveling, but just kind of her seeing those events happening again and stuff. But yeah, no, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that I don't think Filoni's going to do this, but I think there's a lot of fans out there hoping that it is Force Ghost Anakin.
You're projecting. You guys are so projecting the cartoon Anakin onto Hayden Christensen because we got none of that crap from the freaking movies.
I don't think that's relevant, though. I don't think that's relevant to whether you want him back for a story reason or a character. See, I disagree with you both, because I think, although I agree with what you said about Hayden should have never been replaced, Sebastian Shaw at the end of Return of the Jedi. But that was what Lucas wanted, and that's the way they went here. So they've set a precedent for it already. That's the
Lucas
canon.
wanted a lot of stupid things. So.
It doesn't matter if it was stupid or not. They've set a canon for it. And I
know.
I think there's a risk that we then cut off our nose to spite our face, because I think, and actually when you look at the character dynamic that we're looking at and how we think
he's going to say he wants Force Ghost. He wants it, Shockey.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you and I are on the same page, Shockey.
Yeah.
Because I think there needs to be a conversation between that almost, and I've said this in previous podcasts with you two, so it shouldn't be a surprise that I've said this, that there's guilt still in Ahsoka about everything that happened. And
Let it be the world between worlds, not
if it's
Force
the world
Ghost.
Between worlds that helps her come to that on her own, I'm absolutely fine with that. But I also don't have an issue with Anakin, who is famous for having attachments, had attachment with Ahsoka, coming back since he is able to come back as a Force Ghost.
It's an affront to all that is holy in this galaxy far, far away.
Guilt. And the fact that she's already met with Luke, and spoke to Luke, who has spoken to his dad, in the afterlife and stuff like that. It just feels like it would be strange for it not to happen, actually, to me. Doesn't need to be that much. But yeah, so I'm going to disagree with you both hard on that one. It could be done badly, don't get me wrong, in which case I would criticise it the same way you would, but it could also be done well.
We'll see. Any other things on Ahsoka episodes 1 or 2 before we bring it to a close? No? I do want to say just a shout out to Star Wars deciding to make money once again. We're going to be getting physical media releases.
Yeah,
that's a crazy thing, right? That's a crazy thing. Physical media releases, and also Dark Forces getting a remaster, because
listen, I've heard how many remasters or Star Wars games we've heard. Yeah,
this is not a remake. This is not a remake. This is just remaster.
This is still going to look like 1989.
This is easy to do,
or whatever it was. It's 1984, I think it was.
I
see this one coming. I see that. I know exactly what you're getting at.
If they remade the game with modern graphics, I'd be interested in it, but it would cost them an absolute fortune.
It would be ridiculous. But here's my whole thing, though, is the studio's hurting, right? The studio is hurting overall. Disney, right? Not to mention just Lucasfilm and breaking them all down. Disney itself is hurting. And where do they go to make money? They go to physical media, something I've been screaming at the top of my lungs about, that you guys could release these on Blu-ray. No one would drop their subscription because all of a sudden they got Mandalorian on Blu-ray, and you will make money from people like us, or at least me, probably Shockey, not Cam. He's weird, but and then the EU. I have been screaming, you guys don't give two shits about canon anymore, anyways. Why not make money off of people like me with EU shit and make money off of non-EU people at the same freaking time, and it's just funny to see them. You know, we got the Essential Legends books being reprinted and audiobooks released, and you've got EU stuff showing up in Heir to the Empire, Thrawn, and stuff like that. You know, name drops and characters, and it was money left on the table. Anyways, yeah. Cool stuff, guys. Check out more cool stuff here on the GenreVerse. Like we said, lots of anime content, geek and pop culture stuff on Daily Cog, Breaking Geek Radio. We've got merch. Oh man, I still couldn't. Look, there it is. Look, there's more merch options right there, guys. We even got our own cute anime girl, so you can check that out. All of the videos that aren't reaction videos go up on all your favorite podcast apps like Spotify and Google and Apple and all that. And of course, lrmonline.com every day for all entertainment news, needs, opinions, celebrity interviews, and more. Shockey, what else you got? Anything?
No, I mean, we're going through some transitions, but you know, yeah, just keep checking out, you know, on the website, and if there's anything you think about or, you know, want to cover or us to cover, just let us know in the comment section, and we'll do it.
Yep. Cam?
No, nothing I can really add.
All right then, guys. Until next time, may the Force be with you.